This is so weird. I'm making a video about my favorite movies of 2020, but I'm already a week into 2021. So let's talk about my favorite movies of 2020. It's like I'm making a report with this book in my hands. Thank God it's a report about movies, not a report about my life. So let's talk about some movies that potentially may make it on the list, but I still don't have the time to watch these movies yet. These movies are The Night Clerk, Trials of Chicago 7, Run, and Extraction. Four of these movies are movies that I really want to watch, but still can't find the time yet. So let's start with my 10th favorite movie of the year. It's Guns Akimbo, the really weird Daniel Radcliffe movie where he has the guns attached to his hands. It's a lot of fun. It's a very fun movie, and it's very weird, but it's also really entertaining. So this weird combination of action video games and entertaining movies and rock music. Three things that I really love. So this movie feels like it was just made for me and it was so entertaining throughout the entire runtime. And number 9 is The Devil All the Time. I just watched this today, this morning, and I love this movie. It's dark, it's gritty, and it shows the dark side of the human nature very well, and the corruption that goes on in this small town. And Tom Holland plays this guy who's in the middle of all these bad things happening, and he's trying to find his way out of this town. And it's a very gripping story, and there are moments in this movie where I'm just at the edge of my seat and my heart is beating. I don't know what's going to happen. It's that thrilling feeling that you don't really know what to expect next. And the movie really throws a lot of turns and twists all over the place. You really don't know what's going to happen. It's not a fun movie. It's a very gloomy and depressing and dark movie, and disturbing as well. But it's a very thrilling watch, I would say, despite of the very slow pacing that the movie has. I don't feel that at all. I don't know why everyone says this movie has a really slow pace. I think it's fine actually. I've seen much slower movies than that, trust me. Number 8 is On the Rocks, the new Sofia Coppola movie. Lost in Translation is one of my favorite movies of all time. I don't know why I just did that, but Lost in Translation is one of my favorite movies, and that movie was Sofia Coppola's masterpiece, and it had Bill Murray in it. So this movie is Sofia Coppola reuniting with Bill Murray once again, and I'm hoping for something that's half as great as what Lost in Translation was. I don't expect anything to really top Lost in Translation at this point. As long as it's half the quality of Lost in Translation, I would be happy. And this movie, it's really good. It's good. And Bill Murray is great once again. I'm happy that he isn't playing the same character that he played in Lost in Translation. It's a different character. His performance is very different. Rashida Jones, I'm not really familiar with her work prior to this movie, but she's really good in this movie. And Sofia Coppola's direction, you know what to expect. The really soft aesthetic and the city lifestyle and the very glamorous display of richness. Those kind of stuff you expect in a Sofia Coppola movie, it's all in here. But this movie, it has a car chase, which really is not what you expect from a Sofia Coppola movie, but it has a lot of action, a lot of excitement, which I really wasn't expecting from a Sofia Coppola movie, and I really enjoyed this movie. And number 7 is Bill and Ted 3, Bill and Ted Face the Music. This movie is exactly what a Bill and Ted fan would want. I don't know how other people feel about this movie, people who have never seen the first 2 Bill and Ted movies, but I've seen those movies, and especially the first one is one of my favorite comedies of all time. So I was really looking forward to watching this movie, and it had its problems. It was a little bit bloated, a little bit too many storylines at the same time, but the fact that a Bill and Ted movie could exist in 2020 and it doesn't suck is a Christmas miracle. Like, these are the stuff that you wish from the gods, and the gods have delivered a Bill and Ted movie for us, dude. And at number 6 is Minari, a Korean movie directed by Lee Isaac Chung, I believe, and it has really good performances that are really naturalistic, really real performances. And the thing about Minari is everything is really restrained and everything is kept to a minimum in terms of the drama or the comedy. The performances and the jokes and the story, they're all really understated. It's trying to give this movie a very natural, organic feel. And that's what this movie is. It's a very real and natural and organic story of this group of Korean immigrants who moved to the United States in the 80s. And it doesn't feel like it's trying to be a movie. It just feels like you're watching something real happening in front of your eyes. And also a really good title, by the way. This movie's title is Perfect. It's the perfect parallel to the story and the themes of the movie. This is a very hopeful movie in spite of all the tragedy that's happening inside of it. At number 5 is Buffalo, the Zoe Douche movie, which when I was younger I always confused Zoe Douche with Zoe Deschanel. Apparently they are two different people. I always think they are the same person until I watched Zombieland Double Tap. Then I realized that Zoe Douche was a completely different person. Anyway, Buffalo is a movie that completely rides on Zoe Douche's charm. She is really charming in this movie, and this movie has some cliche moments, but at the end it's really Zoe Douche's show. She is the star of this movie and she carries this movie through and through, and I loved seeing Zoe Douche in this role, just having the time of her life, and it really feels like a passion project. It really feels like it was made by a lot of people who had a lot of passion and they really wanted to make this movie, and you could really feel the passion of the filmmakers. At number 4 is Come As You Are. This is a comedy about some people with disabilities going on a road trip to lose their virginity. So it's like a combination between a drama and a very raunchy sex comedy. But in spite of that, it's not raunchy at all. In fact, it's not what I expected. It wasn't dirty. It wasn't like American Pie kind of dirty. It was actually really heartwarming and sweet. And I really liked the drama, I really liked the comedy, and it was very emotionally affecting. I would say it's the most emotionally affecting movie in this entire list. This movie was emotional, it really was, and it was very impactful as well. It really made me feel. It's what this movie is. At number 3 is Palm Springs. This movie has the best romance of the year and one of the best romances of last decade. Every time I say the year, I mean 2020, of course, not 2021. Please don't get confused. Anyway, Palm Springs is this science fiction twist that takes on a very old science fiction concept. If you have seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. It's a very old concept in science fiction. However, they put this really fresh spin on this very old concept and make this movie feel refreshing again. And the thing about this movie is the central romance. It's just so good. Andy Samberg and Christine Milioti, I believe. I don't really know how to pronounce her name. She was the mother in How I Met Your Mother, which I did not watch. And they have really good chemistry. I would totally believe they were a real couple if you told me that. Their chemistry in this movie is so good, I could watch them hang out forever. And this movie isn't really the most cohesive movie ever. The story feels a lot like little fragments or little TV episodes. But it works in this movie because you really like hanging out with these characters. And half of this movie is just having fun with these characters. And it's really a lot of fun. And I would really want to watch Andy Samberg and Christine Milioti in another movie, reunited again. Their chemistry really is everything. At number 2 is The Last of Night. tribute to the 1950s science fiction movies. Oh, another science fiction. But this movie is a lot more serious. It's not like Palm Springs. Palm Springs has Andy Samberg in it, so a lot of comedy as you expect. But this movie, it takes itself really seriously. But although it's a tribute to the 1950s science fiction movies, it doesn't rely on visual effects at all. If you go back and watch some 50s science fiction movies right now, like War of the Worlds, I totally understand why some people love that movie, but that movie is very reliant on visual effects. And this movie, it's not. In The West of Night, I think only near the end do we have one scene that involves these big visual effects. The rest of the movie is just a lot of dialogue. And it's really intriguing how they use conversations and interviews and scientific methods to try to find out what's happening. And it's not like aliens coming down invading Earth. It's just a really subtle thing. It's just a little change in the frequency, and these people have to use scientific methods and use their own ways to try to figure out what this thing is. And I like how subtle the science fiction elements are. And number one, it's I'm Thinking of Ending Things, the new Charlie Kaufman movie, and it is really deep, it's really wise, it's really fantastical, all those things that you expect from a Charlie Kaufman movie, except times 10. It is 10 times more wise, I think, 10 times wiser. What happened to my English? It's 10 times wiser, it's 10 times deeper, and it's 10 times more fantastical. Let's talk about the deep part first. This movie had so many philosophical concepts and ideas about life and death and time and aging. So many concepts that this movie touches on, and each line of dialogue really matters in this movie. There is no wasted dialogue. Each line of dialogue really hits straight to the heart. And let's talk about the dreamy aspect now. This movie has such a strong, dreamy atmosphere. This whole movie feels like a dream. There are some parts of the movie that has no rhyme or reason, and usually people like to understand the movie. If they don't understand the movie, they go search on YouTube, find some analysis on that movie. But this movie doesn't make me feel like I want to do that, because this movie is so convincingly dreamy that I just accept everything that's going on. Because it's a dream. The whole movie just feels like a dream. And you won't try to find rhyme or reason when you're in a dream. And this movie feels like the dream of a very clever and imaginative man. And that man is probably just Charlie Kaufman. So this movie is like an opportunity for us to enter the dreams of Charlie Kaufman in first person. Just enter the dreams. And this opportunity is much appreciated because I have so much admiration for Charlie Kaufman as a writer and as a director. And being able to jump into his dreams is truly an opportunity that has to be appreciated. So this is my 10 favorite movies of this year, and you should check all these movies out. But definitely I'm Thinking of Ending Things. It's on Netflix, by the way, so it's not really that hard for you to just check it out. So I'm really looking forward to seeing which great movies will release in 2021. But the one that I'm anticipating the most is the new James Bond one. I really want to watch No Time to Die.